Good morning and welcome to the channel. That's not good. All right. Good morning and good morning and welcome to the channel. We are back with another episode in this 150-year-old house renovation thing that's happening. If you've been following along with the series, you'll know that we're in a bit of a time crunch to get this done, to have it move in ready for the homeowners, which are moving in a week and a half. There's still a lot to do. In today's episode, I'm going to be focused on doing stuff. That stuff is going to be starting off with doing some of this main level trim. The upstairs from last episode, we got it ready for the carpet to be installed, which is going to be going in at the end of this week. It was supposed to go in last week, didn't happen, but I had to jump down here to finish, not finish, but to at least start some of this trim work. I'll show you where we're at with that. Okay, first jumping into the dining room, we got the ceiling primed. It was a wooden paneling texture. Homeowners wanted to prime that, so they went ahead and did that. And they've also thrown some jams up in the doorways in order to case them. But we're gonna have to take some of that apart. I don't want to case until everything's primed, so we're actually gonna jump in with the primer. Just get it done. I've already sanded, I've already cut in the primer, but we just have to go ahead and roll it now, which won't take me very long. And now we can prime. I like vacuuming out the receptacles and outlets, because as you roll and you roll over top of them, potentially you could collect dust and it just doesn't make for the best finish. So that's an easy thing to do. Got it done. Now we're going to prime. Roller, broom handle. That's all you need. I'm just going to carry on priming this room. I'll put you on time lapse. It's a little more enjoyable to watch. Priming's done. Okay, the priming's done. I'm just gonna leave it wrapped up like that. We might need it by the end of the day still, so have it still accessible by just putting plastic over the paint. Now we can jump ahead and do the trim, question mark. All right, I'm getting ready to do these jams here. They were installed a little prematurely. Long story short, they were installed pretty early on in the project before we knew what was fully gonna be happening with these walls. Decisions have been made to skim coat some of these walls. For example, this dining room has a 1/4 inch drywall over all of it to cover up the original plaster because it was in bad condition. The living room, however, has 1/2 inch drywall in it, because in that situation, the 1/2 inch was more rigid and we needed our drywall to cover and float over some areas, so we used that in there instead. But the lobby, the entryway or hallway, wherever you want to call it, in here only has some 1/4 inch in some places, so it's all over the place. Because of that, all our jams don't fit properly. Some of them are recessed a little bit. I'll show you an example here. At the end of the day, we could make it work, but we're trying to do what's most time and cost effective. So we do have one edge here that is straight, it's the factory edge. With MDF, typically you want to cut that 1 inch off of the factory edge because they tend to swell a little bit in the manufacturing process. But in this case, we're going to keep it and just sand it down a little bit. So I'm able to take these ones off and reuse them for that door. Reduce, reuse, and recycle. It just actually won't be too bad. That might have just been flux in the jam that was causing it to bow. I thought it wasn't straight, but now I want to double check it. I'll show you here. Wow, really struggling with the camera stuff these days. So if I put my straight edge here, it's good all the way up to the top. It's straight, but as we come down, there is a 1/2 inch here. So that's why I'm gonna take it right off and reinstall it. Because there's no way I can make that work. That's one. Okay, these jams are off. I'm going to use them for this door here. And by door, I mean entryway. There's no door going on here. It's just going to be a walk through. This one is a smaller width than that one, so I'm able to rip off a 1/4 inch from there, get rid of that bow and those pieces, reuse it for here, and then cut new ones for over there. That's what I'm going for. And now we head over to the saw to rip those down. Alright, I've already changed my mind a little bit with how I'm going to do these openings. I'm going to instead do them as I would a door. I'm going to shim them out. First check how level it is. This is showing pretty level. And then I'm going to go ahead, nail a shim up here. Pack it on there. One at the bottom. Right there. Check it for plumb again, make sure it is. So here I'm hitting my top spacer and my bottom spacer. Right here. And it's still showing a plumb here. So now all I have to do is measure this gap here and cut a spacer appropriate for that. Which is also 1/2 inch. So another piece of aspenite goes in there. Just put one nail in to pin it, and now I can put my 1/2 inch MDF on this knowing it's straight. So I'll just measure my width now. And we are, not surprisingly, all over the place with that measurement, from 7 1/4 to 6 1/2. Wow. I got those jams cut. And the next step is going to be to fasten the header of them. I'm going to do it on the ground and then stand it up in the doorway. It just saves a bit of time and allows me to get a more secure fit and fastener into the header, into the jam. That's fastened. Now I should be able to just raise it up into my opening like that. And then we just make sure that this jam is brought out to the drywall, so I just use a flat edge of some kind. Looks good there, and I can go ahead and throw a nail into it. So from that point on, I can just go ahead and continue nailing. And then once I get this nailed off, I can go ahead and begin my trim, or casing, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to go ahead and prepare all these doorways and then we'll jump into the casing. I ended up finding a use for this primer that I had so carefully packaged up. So to do the trim, they're sitting on these blocks, just chamfered, I don't know what dimensions those are, but it's a plinth. So the trim sits on top of it, and that's kind of like the column or the base of the trim. I had to make up a bunch, so I have to go ahead and prime them all before I use them. Otherwise I won't be able to, because they're going to be sitting tight against the carpet. So I figured I'll just use this big roller and be careful I don't get any drips. This is just the primer again, so I'm going to go back and I'll sand each one of these. It's going to look like that. That's a raindrop I felt, I think. Oh, but it's sunny. So I'm just going to go ahead and prime all these blocks. The primer tends to raise the wood fibers a little bit, creating bristles and stuff, and looks like it's a rougher finish than what it should be. So I'll just go over with some sandpaper and knock it off. Knock it off. So I just finished priming this last one here. Wait for it to dry, probably about 20-30 minutes before I can fasten them. It's a quick primer, so shouldn't take too long. And then we can go ahead and begin the casing around the doors that sits on top of this. Alright, I got my blocks here. They're all dry and sanded. I can go ahead and attach them on the bottom here. And this will be as simple as lining that up like that. So here's my 4.5 inch wide piece of casing. I center it on the plinth block there. Fire it away. I just have to be careful I don't shoot out the other side because it's only 1/2 inch thick jam. I'm shooting into the jam first because the jam is a little wiggly because it's 1/2 inch MDF. So this way I can kind of move my casing left or right depending on the reveal I need. And then I'll go and straighten it out and fire it into the wall to hold it, so that way it's nice and straight. The reveal is really nice and I can just kind of carry on like that. That's gonna do it for this episode actually. It's the end of the day here. Probably won't get back to this for a while. I'm going to finish just doing these verticals on all the doors, and the header piece will be done at a later point. So that's going to do it for today's episode. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next one.